The delegation's ship docks at Earth Central Station, the massive orbital facility serving as humanity's gateway to the stars. Through the viewport, Rise watches Earth rotate below. Blue oceans, green and brown landmasses, white cloud swirls. A fragile-looking world compared to the fortress planets of the Kronax or the crystalline megastructures of the McClary. They see beauty as weakness, she murmurs to herself. Admiral Santos meets her at the airlock, his weathered face grim. The long-range sensors on Callisto picked up the Harvester fleet 12 hours ago. Confirmation just came through from our deep space probes. Reyes follows him to the emergency briefing room, where Earth's highest military and civilian leadership awaits. The holographic display shows a massive fleet moving methodically through the outer solar system. Not the disorganized pirates or raiders that occasionally venture into human space, but hundreds of ships in precise formation. Analysis confirms it's the Harvester Collective, explains General Ishida, pointing to distinctive ship configurations. We've only encountered their scout vessels before. Never a war fleet of this magnitude. President Chen rises from her seat, the weight of 7 billion lives evident in her expression. Commander Reyes, you've just come from the Confederation. What support can we expect? Reyes takes a deep breath. None, Madam President. I've already transmitted an emergency request. Their response was definitive. She plays Gorvak's message. The massive Kronax's scales shimmer with barely contained satisfaction as he speaks. Consider this a test of natural selection. Prove your species deserves consideration, if you can survive. Silence fills the room as the implications become clear. Humanity stands alone against an enemy that has consumed entire civilizations. What are their capabilities? Asks Defense Minister Okafor, breaking the stunned quiet. Admiral Santos activates detailed intelligence files. The Harvesters strip mine inhabited worlds of all resources, biological, mineral, technological. Their ships are hybrid organic-mechanical constructs that can partially self-repair. Their ground forces are cybernetically enhanced and networked into a hive intelligence. And their weaknesses? President Chen's voice remains steady. Unknown. Santos admits, no species has successfully repelled a full Harvester incursion without Confederation support. The room erupts into panicked discussion. Evacuation proposals. Surrender terms. Desperate pleas to approach the Confederation again. Reyes remains silent, her mind racing through possibilities. She accesses her secure personal files on her datapad, reviewing tactics from Earth's resource wars. Strategies developed when she fought under a different name, against superior forces, with minimal resources. We have 42 combat-capable vessels, Admiral Santos concludes grimly, against their fleet of nearly 200. Conventional defensive doctrine says. We don't use conventional doctrine. Reyes interrupts, her voice cutting through the chaos. The room falls silent as all eyes turn to her. The Confederation and the Harvesters expect us to fight like everyone else in the galaxy fights. That's exactly why they'll lose. President Chen studies her carefully. You have a plan, Commander. Not yet, but I have a direction. Reyes steps forward, activating the holographic display. Humanity evolved differently from every species in the Confederation. We didn't develop from solitary apex predators like the Kronax, or hive minds like the Voidari, or silicon-based colony organisms like the McClary. She pulls up images of Earth's evolutionary history. We were persistence predators, pack hunters. We outlasted stronger, faster creatures through endurance and cooperation. When we couldn't overpower our environment, we adapted to it. When we couldn't adapt fast enough biologically, we created technology to bridge the gap. Defense Minister Okafor frowns. Commander, this is fascinating evolutionary theory, but how does it help us against a technologically superior enemy at our doorstep? Because it means we think fundamentally differently. Reyes explains, her eyes alight with intensity. The Harvesters and the Confederation have fought thousands of species across millennia, but their tactical databases contain nothing like human asymmetric warfare. They've never encountered an enemy that thinks like us. She brings up a strategic map of the solar system. We don't try to match their firepower or technology. We use what makes humans unique: our unpredictability, our adaptability, our willingness to sacrifice for future gain. A subtle change comes over the room as hope begins to replace despair. We have colonies on Europa, Mars, Luna, and Mercury. Rise continues. Mining operations throughout the asteroid belt. Research stations around Jupiter and Saturn. Instead of concentrating our forces for a conventional defense, we distribute them. We make the entire solar system a battlefield where every seeming defeat conceals a trap. President Chen nods slowly. What resources do you need, Commander? Everything. Rise replies simply. And everyone. From our most brilliant scientists to our most experienced soldiers to civilian volunteers. This isn't just a military operation. It's humanity's statement to the galaxy. She looks around the room, meeting each pair of eyes in turn. The Confederation believes we're primitives. The harvesters see us as resources to be harvested. Let's show them both what humans are truly capable of when our survival is at stake. For the first time since the news of the harvester fleet broke, a sense of determined purpose fills the room. Not blind optimism, but the grim resolve of a species that has faced extinction-level threats throughout its evolution and survived through ingenuity and sheer stubborn will. Begin preparations immediately, President Chen orders. Commander Reyes has operational authority for system-wide defense. As the meeting disperses, Admiral Santos approaches Reyes quietly. You realize they're expecting miracles from you. Reyes' lips curve in a slight smile. Then it's fortunate that humanity has always been good at delivering the impossible. The newly established War Operations Center beneath Lake Geneva hums with activity as holographic displays track the harvester fleet's methodical approach. Commander Reyes moves between stations, reviewing defense preparations with quiet intensity. Sunforge deployment teams report ready status at Jupiter waypoints, reports Lieutenant Okoro, his fingers dancing across adaptive interfaces as he fine-tunes drone swarm algorithms. The court-martial that nearly ended his career 2 years ago seems insignificant now. His unorthodox programming methods, once deemed dangerously experimental, have become humanity's technological edge. The gravitational calculations worry me, Dr. Patel admits, his voice low enough that only Rice can hear. Dark circles under his eyes testify to sleepless weeks in the particle physics lab. We're manipulating fundamental forces in ways that shouldn't be possible according to standard models. The energy requirements alone. Your team solved the energy problem, Rice reminds him. The antimatter micro-reactors work. In simulations, Patel clarifies, we're compressing development cycles that should take years into days. Rice places a hand on his shoulder. That's exactly what the harvesters and the Confederation don't expect. They measure progress in centuries. We measure it in moments of necessity. Across the room, Admiral Santos oversees the retrofit of civilian vessels. Cargo haulers become menlayers. Luxury yachts transform into electronic warfare platforms. Mining equipment repurposes into weapons systems. Earth's relatively small military expands through improvisation and adaptation. The merchant marine volunteers completed basic combat training, he informs Reyes. They're not military, but they know their ships. If your unconventional tactics work. When? Reyes corrects him. When they work. A priority communication interrupts their discussion. Maya Chen's face appears on the secure channel, her cybernetic eye gleaming. The infamous space pirate looks uncomfortable in the provisional uniform granted for her temporary commission. Your prison break worked, Commander. She reports from Mars orbit. My old contacts came through. We've mapped the blind spots in harvester sensor configurations based on recovered data from previous encounters. Their ships have systematic gaps in coverage, predictable ones. Can we exploit them? Maya's expression shifts to a predatory grin. already designing infiltration shuttles with matching sensor shadow profiles. If we time our approaches with their standard scanning cycles, we can get boarding teams close enough. Good work, Rise acknowledges. How's your father? Maya's face hardens. Admiral Chen volunteered to lead the Titan Defense Force. He believes he has something to prove. Always the perfect officer, even when they stripped his rank. We need his experience, Rice says carefully, and his courage. Just make sure his sacrifice means something. Maya responds before terminating the connection. In the strategic planning section, holographic models display the solar system's complex gravitational dance. Jupiter's massive presence dominates the outer system model, its dozens of moons creating a navigational challenge even in normal circumstances. We're not fighting against harvester strengths, Rise explains to her command staff. We're fighting against their expectations. Every species they've encountered has tried to match their firepower, their armor, their technology, and failed. We won't make that mistake. She manipulates the display, highlighting key defensive positions. Humanity survived on Earth by turning environments to our advantage. Jungles, deserts, Arctic wastes. We adapted where others would perish. Space is just another environment to transform into our ally. The staff officers exchange glances, a mixture of hope and skepticism evident on their faces. The Sunforge devices aren't just weapons, Dr. Patel elaborates. They're environmental manipulation tools. We're not creating explosions or energy beams. We're altering the fundamental rules of engagement in localized spacetime. From the communications center, a junior officer interrupts with barely contained alarm. Commander, we're receiving transmissions from Saturn Outpost. The harvesters have arrived earlier than projected. The room falls silent as the view screens display the small research facility in Saturn's orbit. The modest defensive platforms around the outpost activate, firing conventional weapons that dissipate harmlessly against harvester shields. The response is swift and merciless. Precision beams cut through the outpost's central hub. Secondary explosions blossom as atmosphere vents into space. Emergency escape pods launch, but harvester interceptors move to capture rather than destroy them. They're taking prisoners, Admiral Santos observes grimly. No, Rice corrects. They're taking resources. The final transmission from Saturn Outpost comes not from its human commander, but from the harvester leader himself. Vorthrak's partly organic, partly mechanical face fills the main screen, his artificial eye glowing with cold calculation. Your technology will be absorbed. Your genetic material will be processed. Your resistance simply reduces your efficiency rating as a resource. Surrender now, and 20% of your population may be maintained as renewable biological components. As the transmission ends, the War Operations Center erupts in a mixture of rage and fear. Rise remains calm, studying the Harvester Commander's features with clinical detachment. Record everything about their tactics, she instructs her intelligence team. Attack patterns, communication frequencies, weapon configurations. The Harvesters believe they're demonstrating power, but they're actually revealing vulnerabilities. She turns to Dr. Patel. How soon can we deploy the first Sunforge prototype? 3 days, he answers. Maybe 2 if we accept increased instability risks. You have 36 hours, Rice decides. The Jupiter defense must be ready before they reach Europa Colony. As the room mobilizes with renewed urgency, Lieutenant Okoro approaches Reyes with a tablet displaying complex behavioral algorithms. I've been studying harvester movement patterns from the Saturn attack, he explains. Their ships maneuver like apex predators. Direct overwhelming force against the strongest perceived threat. It's elegant but predictable. And your drone swarms. Okoro's eyes light up with quiet confidence. They'll move like wolves hunting a much larger prey. No single drone presents a worthwhile target, but together they'll cripple systems the harvesters don't even realize are vulnerable. For the first time since the crisis began, a slight smile crosses Rey's face. Humanity's history is written by those who developed better tools, better tactics, and better cooperation than their adversaries. It's time to add a new chapter. The methane lakes glimmer beneath the orange haze, their surfaces unnaturally still. Hidden beneath these toxic depths, 5 modified Earth vessels wait in absolute silence, their specialized hulls designed to withstand the caustic liquid environment. Inside the lead ship, the cramped command center houses a small crew of volunteers who have accepted a mission with minimal survival probability. Admiral Harrison Chen studies the tactical display, his weathered face illuminated by its soft blue glow. 23 harvester vessels now occupy low orbit, their massive hulls eclipsing the distant sun as they pass overhead. Signal from colony control. The communications officer whispers, though there's no chance of being heard through kilometers of liquid methane. Harvester landing parties have reached the primary beacon cluster. Detonation sequence countdown initiated. Chen nods, his expression betraying nothing of the turmoil beneath. His daughter Maya waits in a stealth shuttle 12,000 kilometers away, prepared to risk everything on the infiltration mission that follows. Their relationship, fractured years ago when his choice to save civilian lives cost him his career and her respect, might never heal. But perhaps today, their parallel sacrifices will mean something more. Prepare for emergency ascent, he orders. Synchronize engines with detonation sequence. We'll have exactly 47 seconds to breach the surface and reach attack velocity before they realize we're here. The crew secures harnesses, knowing the G-forces of their planned trajectory will test the limits of human endurance. There's no bravado, no dramatic speeches, just the quiet efficiency of professionals who understand precisely what's at stake. Through external sensors, they watch the harvester landing craft deploy ground teams with mechanical precision. The aliens move with unsettling coordination, their partly cybernetic bodies adapting instantly to the moon's low gravity and dense atmosphere. The first harvester technician reaches a signal beacon, its sensor appendages extending to analyze the unusual emission pattern. Deep beneath the surface, the colony's chief engineer waits in a sealed compartment for confirmation that all landing parties have reached their targets. Signal density confirms optimal harvester distribution. She reports to Admiral Chen. Detonation sequence commencing in 10 seconds. Chen opens a final communication channel to all 5 ships. Remember your training. Remember your purpose. For Earth. The first explosion seems modest, a controlled demolition rather than a weapon of war. But it's merely the trigger. The specially designed charges interact with the unique atmospheric chemistry, creating a cascading reaction that builds upon itself. The science behind it emerged from decades of research into sustainable terraforming techniques, now weaponized out of desperate necessity. The liquid methane above the hidden ships begins to churn as the pressure wave approaches. Chen grips his command chair. Full power to ascent engines. Now, 5 ships burst from the lakes like spears, riding the expanding pressure wave that propels them upward with acceleration beyond what their engines alone could achieve. The caustic liquid sluices off their specialized hulls as they pierce the churning atmosphere. Above, the harvester vessels register the explosions and begin emergency evasive maneuvers. But the cascading atmospheric reaction has already reached them, creating turbulence beyond their structural tolerances. Ship after ship reports hull breaches as the precisely calculated pressure waves find their weakest points. Target the flagship. Chen orders as their small vessels clear the upper atmosphere. All power to forward momentum. Disregard evasive protocols. The suicide ships accelerate directly toward the massive harvester command vessel, ignoring the defensive fire that begins to pick them apart. Chen watches calmly as 2 of his sister ships disappear in expanding fireballs. A third loses engine containment and spirals away. 30 seconds to impact, his navigation officer reports, voice steady despite knowing what awaits. Chen opens a final encrypted channel. Maya, we've created your window. The command ship's lower quadrant defensive grid is overloading. Approach vector 739. You'll have approximately 2 minutes before they reroute systems. From her position in the cloaked infiltration shuttle, Maya Chen watches her father's ship drive relentlessly toward the Harvester flagship. Her tactical computer confirms his assessment. The defensive grid fluctuations are creating a brief vulnerability in exactly the pattern he described. Acknowledge, she responds, her voice betraying nothing of the emotional storm within. Beginning approach run. Admiral Chen allows himself a small smile. You always were a better pilot than me. Your mother would be proud of the woman you've become, even the parts she wouldn't approve of. Dad. Maya begins, but stops herself. What can she possibly say in these final moments? I know, he replies simply. Now make it count. His ship impacts the Harvester flagship at a precise structural junction, the antimatter containment field deliberately failing upon contact. The resulting explosion tears open a massive section of the alien vessel's hull, secondary systems cascading into failure throughout the ship. Maya's infiltration shuttle slips through the chaos, undetected in the confusion as damage control systems struggle to compensate for the precisely targeted attack. She leads her team through the breach, their specialized equipment already mapping the alien vessel's internal structure. We're inside, she confirms on a secure channel to Earth Command. Proceeding to Navigation Center, these bastards won't know what hit them. In War Operations Center on Earth, Commander Reyes receives the confirmation with mixed emotions. The first phase of the counter-offensive has succeeded, but at terrible cost. The sacrifice of Admiral Chen and his volunteers has purchased humanity's first real advantage: access to the Harvester command network. How long can Maya's team remain undetected? She asks her tactical analysts. Unknown, comes the honest reply. No human has ever infiltrated a Harvester vessel and returned to report on internal security measures. Reyes nods grimly. Then we'd better make every second count. The reinforced observation deck of Callisto Station offers an unparalleled view of Jupiter's swirling storms. Dr. Petal stands motionless before the massive viewport, the gas giant's reflected light playing across his features as he performs final calculations on his tablet. The gravitational intricacies exceed our initial models, he explains to the engineering team gathered around him. Jupiter's magnetic field interacts with the space-time distortions in ways we didn't anticipate. It's actually amplifying the effect. Commander Reyes joins them, having just emerged from a secure briefing with Earth Command. Is that an advantage or a problem? Both, Patil answers honestly. The Sunforge devices will create more significant distortions than we projected, which increases their effectiveness against the Harvester fleet. But it also means the crews operating them will experience even more extreme conditions. The unspoken reality hangs in the air. The volunteers manning the Sunforge ships are already on what amounts to a suicide mission. Higher gravitational stresses will only accelerate their fate. Have you informed the ship commanders? Reyes asks. Yes, they've all confirmed they're proceeding as planned. Through the viewport, they can see the three specialized vessels moving into position, their hulls gleaming with experimental shielding designed to withstand Jupiter's electromagnetic storms. Each ship contains a single Sunforge device, the product of humanity's most advanced physics research, compressed into a development timeline that should have been impossible. No testing, minimal simulations, theoretical principles that the Confederation considers unsound, Patil murmurs. By all scientific standards, we're being recklessly irresponsible. By survival standards, we're being necessarily innovative. Reyes counters. The Harvesters don't leave room for cautious scientific progress. The tactical display shows the Harvester fleet approaching Jupiter's orbital plane with methodical precision. Over 150 vessels in tight formation, their navigational algorithms compensating for the gas giant's natural gravitational influence with expected efficiency. They've adapted their approach vectors based on the Saturn-Moon engagement, notes Lieutenant Okoro, who's joined them on the observation deck. Their formation is designed to minimize vulnerability to atmospheric manipulation. They learn quickly. But they learn through iteration, not imagination. Reyes responds. They can adapt to what they've already experienced, but struggle to anticipate what they haven't encountered before. The lieutenant nods, which is why the Sunforge should work exactly once. We won't get a second chance with this strategy. A communication alert chimes softly. Harvester fleet has crossed the deployment threshold, announces the tactical officer. Sunforge ships confirm ready status. Reyes opens a channel to all 3 vessels. You know what's at stake. Humanity stands with you. Captain Mirza of Sunforge 1 responds calmly. We understand the physics, Commander. Our families on Europa will see another day because of what happens here. That's enough. The Sunforge activation sequence begins simultaneously across all 3 vessels. Unlike conventional weapons, there's no visible beam, no explosion, no immediate effect that sensors can detect. The devices manipulate gravitational fields at a quantum level, creating subtle distortions in spacetime that propagate outward in precisely calculated patterns. For several tense minutes, nothing seems to happen. The Harvester fleet continues its advance, maintaining perfect formation. Has it failed? Asks one of the younger officers, voicing the fear spreading through the observation deck. Dr. Patel shakes his head, eyes fixed on his instruments. The effect propagates at light speed. It reaches different parts of their formation at different times. Wait. Almost imperceptibly at first, a single harvester ship near the formation's edge begins to drift off course. Its navigational thrusters fire to compensate, but the correction sends it veering in another unexpected direction. 2 more ships experience similar deviations, their precise formation beginning to unravel. What follows resembles a cascading failure. As each ship encounters the invisible gravitational distortions, their navigation systems report conflicting readings. Compensatory maneuvers designed for normal space physics only worsen their trajectories in this manipulated environment. Ships collide with each other or drift too close to Jupiter's crushing gravitational well. Their navigational algorithms can't adapt to inconsistent physical laws. Okoro observes with professional satisfaction. They're programmed for the universe as it should behave, not as we've made it behave. Within 30 minutes, nearly 40 harvester vessels are lost or severely damaged. The remaining fleet retreats to a safer distance, abandoning their direct approach to Europa. On the observation deck, the initial elation fades as Dr. Patel checks the telemetry from the Sunforge ships. His expression grows solemn. Sunforge 2 and 3 have gone silent, he reports quietly. The gravitational stresses exceeded even our revised estimates. Sunforge 1 reports critical hull integrity failures and life support systems at minimal capacity. Can we extract the crew? Rise asks. Negative. The space-time distortions around their position make approach impossible. They knew this might happen. From Sunforge 1, Captain Mirza transmits a final message, her voice distorted by interference. The device will maintain effect for approximately 12 more hours before critical failure. Use that time well. It has been an honor to serve humanity. Through intercepted communications, the human observers learned something surprising about their enemy. The Harvester command ship transmits tactical analysis indicating genuine confusion. Their vast database of combat encounters with hundreds of species contains nothing resembling the gravitational manipulation they've just experienced. They're adapting their strategic approach, Lieutenant Okoro reports, monitoring the encrypted Harvester transmissions that Maya's infiltration team managed to compromise. They're regrouping to analyze what happened before proceeding further. On Europa's icy surface, the colonists receive news of the successful defense with tempered celebration. The colony's chief engineer, Dr. Emilia Santos, gathers her team to accelerate their own unique preparations. The harvesters will return with a new approach, she tells them, gesturing to the modified ice-boring equipment they've been adapting, and we'll be ready with our own surprise. Deep within the Vala's Marineris Canyon system, Lieutenant Okoro's underground command center buzzes with controlled intensity. Wall-to-wall displays monitor drone production facilities hidden throughout the massive canyon network. Thousands of small craft roll off automated assembly lines, each no larger than Earth's ancient fighter jets, but infinitely more sophisticated in their autonomous capabilities. Biomimetic programming complete for Batch 7, reports Dr. Lakshmi Sharma, the neurological algorithm specialist who helped translate wolf pack hunting behaviors into combat code. The distributed intelligence network is showing unprecedented adaptivity in simulations. Okoro nods, studying the test results. The key is their ability to identify structural vulnerabilities that aren't obvious to conventional targeting systems. How many drones are ready for deployment? Just under 12,000. Sharma answers. Another 8,000 will be operational within 36 hours. We need to accelerate production. The harvesters are analyzing their losses at Jupiter more quickly than predicted. Across the Martian surface, carefully orchestrated evacuation scenarios play out for harvester observation. Cargo vessels load equipment and personnel from major settlements, all communications deliberately left unencrypted. News broadcasts detail the difficult but necessary decision to consolidate defenses around Earth itself. In the orbital command station, Commander Rice conducts a secure briefing with her Mars defense team. The deception is working, she confirms. Harvester scout vessels are maintaining observation distance, but not interfering with the apparent evacuation. Their analysis suggests they're calculating resource acquisition priorities. Colonel Kamari, Martian Defense Force commander, studies the tactical display showing harvester fleet movements. Their approach vectors indicate they're planning a resource preservation strategy, rather than a scorched Earth attack. They want our infrastructure intact. Exactly as we hoped, Rise notes. Have the maintenance bots completed the modifications to the orbital defense platforms? Yes. Standard weapon systems have been replaced with the electromagnetic pulse generators. Each platform now houses one of Dr. Patel's specialized EMP devices, calibrated to the harvester operating frequencies Maya's team extracted. On Phobos Station, Dr. Patel oversees final adjustments to the massive electromagnetic amplifiers built into the Martian moon's regolith. The rushed construction shows in the exposed conduits and temporary support structures, but the underlying science is sound. The system leverages Mars' natural, though weak, magnetic field, he explains to the engineering team. These amplifiers won't create a defensive shield in the traditional sense. Instead, they'll generate an electromagnetic storm specifically tuned to disrupt harvester quantum computing arrays. A junior engineer raises a concern. The power requirements exceed Phobos Station's generator capacity by 340%. That's why we're using a one-time antimatter reaction. Paddle responds. It will provide the surge we need, though it will permanently damage the amplifier network. The statement hangs in the air. Another example of humanity sacrificing long-term assets for immediate survival. In a secured communication chamber, Maya Chen reports directly to Commander Reyes from her location aboard an Earth strike vessel. Following her successful infiltration of the Harvester command ship, her team's extraction had been a minor miracle. The intelligence they gathered has proven invaluable. Their cybernetic systems follow predictable refresh cycles. She explains, her remaining organic eye showing fatigue, while her cybernetic replacement remains unnervingly alert. 37 seconds of vulnerability every 8.4 hours when primary systems transfer to secondary processing for maintenance. That's an extremely narrow window, Rise observes. But it exists in every ship in their fleet, Maya counters. It's a fundamental architecture vulnerability we can exploit with properly timed electronic warfare. Back in Olympus Mons Control Center, the Harvester fleet's approach is detected exactly as predicted. Vorthrak has committed nearly half his remaining vessels to secure Mars, a strategic redistribution that plays perfectly into humanity's plan. They're deploying in a resource acquisition formation, reports the sensor analyst. Mining vessels and processing ships protected by military escorts. Standard harvesting protocol. Lieutenant Okoro allows himself a small smile. Beginning drone deployment sequence. Inform all defensive units to maintain strict emissions control until the primary harvester landing forces are committed. Throughout the canyon system, Hidden hangar doors slide open. The drone swarms emerge silently, using minimal power as they position themselves according to complex behavioral algorithms. Unlike conventional military units, they don't maintain formation or proceed to predetermined targets. Instead, they disperse according to predator pack logic, establishing territories and communication patterns invisible to standard tactical analysis. As the first harvester ships enter low orbit and begin landing procedures, the Mars defense appears exactly as human communications have suggested: minimal and retreating. Mining facilities stand apparently abandoned, processing centers powered down to standby modes, urban habitats showing only automated maintenance systems active. Landing forces deploying to primary resource centers, reports the tactical officer. Harvester ground units moving with standard securitization patterns. No indication they suspect a trap. Colonel Kamari waits until the harvester forces are fully committed, their ships positioned optimally throughout Mars orbit, their ground forces deployed across key infrastructure sites. His finger hovers over the activation control. Sometimes the best ambush is the one your prey walks into willingly, he murmurs, a phrase from ancient Earth hunting traditions. Drone swarm activation in 3, 2, 1. Throughout Mars orbit and across its rusty surface, thousands of small craft suddenly power up simultaneously. The harvester's first indication that something is wrong comes not as direct attacks on their vessels, but as systematic disruption of their sensor arrays, communication networks, and external navigation systems. From his monitoring station, Lieutenant Okoro watches with professional satisfaction as his revolutionary combat doctrine plays out exactly as designed. Wolves don't attack a moose's horns or thick hide, he explains to his staff. They target the hamstrings, the vulnerable points that disable rather than kill outright. The diplomatic shuttle approaches the dwarf planet Ceres, its engines burning silently against the backdrop of the asteroid belt. Inside, Commander Rise reviews final intelligence briefings, while Maya Chen checks her concealed weapons for the third time. You really think we'll need those? Rise asks, nodding toward the specialized disruptors designed to penetrate Harvester's cybernetic defenses. I infiltrated their command ship, Maya responds, her cybernetic eye scanning for surveillance devices. Trust me when I say Vorthrak doesn't negotiate without contingencies. Dr. Patil joins them in the secure briefing room, his tablet displaying the latest test results from Earth laboratories. The miniaturized Sunforge prototype exceeded all performance metrics, he reports with cautious optimism. We achieved interstellar transit to Proxima Centauri and back in 17 hours. The Confederation claims such travel requires months, Rise notes. The Confederation claims many things, Patil responds. Their understanding of quantum gravitational manipulation is fundamentally limited by their scientific orthodoxy. The implications hang silently in the pressurized cabin. Humanity now possesses technology that could shatter the Confederation's monopoly on rapid interstellar transit, the very foundation of their economic and political dominance. Is the prototype secure? Maya asks. Triple encrypted protocols and physical isolation, Patil confirms. Only 5 people on Earth know the complete engineering specifications. As the shuttle docks with Ceres Station, sensor arrays detect multiple vessels approaching from different vectors. The Harvester diplomatic ship, a massive organic mechanical hybrid vessel with disturbing biological components visible through transparent hull sections, approaches from the outer system. From the inner system, a Confederation delegation led by Viceroy Gorvak's personal flagship accelerates toward the meeting point. They're moving awfully fast for a diplomatic mission, observes Captain Rodriguez, the shuttle pilot. The Confederation fears a separate peace between humanity and the Harvesters more than they fear either of us individually, Rise explains. Our little victories have become a significant political problem for them. The diplomatic facility on Ceres presents a neutral ground carefully prepared for this historic encounter. The meeting chamber contains 3 separate sections, each environmentally customized for its occupants. Rise deliberately chooses to sit alone at the human table, a calculated statement about Earth's independent status. Vorthrak arrives with minimal escort, his cybernetic components gleaming under the lighting. Nearly 3 meters tall, his partly organic form shows evidence of countless augmentations and replacements. What might have once been a biological entity now exists as a hybrid of flesh, metal, and synthetic materials. Gorvak towers over everyone, his massive Chronax frame radiating barely contained aggression. His scales shimmer with ceremonial oils as he takes his position, flanked by representatives from 7 Confederation species. Their collective disdain for both humans and harvesters is palpable. This conflict benefits none of our peoples. Rise begins diplomatically. Perhaps we can find. Enough pretense, interrupts Vorthrak, his partly mechanical voice resonating strangely. The Harvester Collective was provided specific intelligence by Confederation sources, indicating that humans were developing planet-killer technology aimed at both our civilizations. The chamber erupts into chaos as translation devices struggle to keep pace with the angry denials from the Confederation delegation. Gorvak's scales darken with rage. The Harvester lies to divide us. He begins. This recovered data suggests otherwise. Rise activates a projection showing encrypted Confederation communications retrieved during Maya's infiltration mission. The authentication codes are unmistakable even to non-Confederation observers. The communications reveal a deliberate strategy. The Confederation had manipulated the Harvesters into attacking Earth, calculating that even if they failed, humanity would be weakened enough to never threaten Confederation dominance. The negotiation transforms into a tense 3-way standoff. Security teams from all factions move to defensive positions around their leaders. Fingers hover near weapons. Cybernetic targeting systems activate. Telepathic warnings flash between Confederation representatives. In this charged atmosphere, Dr. Patel approaches Reyes and whispers a message. To observers, it appears a minor technical consultation, but his words change everything. Sunforge miniaturization confirmed stable. The prototype achieved sustained interstellar transit repeatedly. We can bypass their monopoly completely. Rai studies the faces around her, ancient enemies locked in patterns of domination and resistance spanning millennia. The Confederation has maintained power not through superior technology, but through controlling access to it. The Harvesters have survived through consumption rather than innovation. Both represent dead-end evolutionary strategies compared to human adaptability. With newfound confidence, she rises to address both delegations. Earth proposes a different path forward, she announces. Not just peace between our specific peoples, but a fundamentally different model of galactic cooperation. The Confederation's hierarchical control serves only those at the top. The harvester consumption model leads ultimately to resource collapse. Both are unsustainable. She outlines a radical proposal, an alliance of equals where technological innovation is shared rather than hoarded, where sustainable resource management replaces both Confederation extraction monopolies and harvester consumption practices. For the reformed elements of the Harvester Collective willing to abandon your consumption-based expansion, we offer sustainable resource rights and technological partnership. For subjugated Confederation worlds seeking independence, we offer protection and open trade. The proposal represents an existential threat to everything the Confederation stands for. Gorvak's scales flush almost black with fury as he recognizes the danger. With a subtle gesture to his aide, he activates a hidden signal. Outside, cloaked Confederation warships move into attack position. I regret that such reasonable proposals cannot be accepted, he announces with false sorrow. Some species simply cannot be trusted with their own destiny. Maya's cybernetic eye detects the subspace communication burst. She leans toward Reyes. Confederation ships decloaking. Attack formation. Reyes nods imperceptibly. Right on schedule. The blackness of space around Ceres suddenly shimmers as 6 massive Confederation dreadnoughts disengage their cloaking fields. Weapon systems lock onto the diplomatic facility with devastating precision. This negotiation is terminated, Gorvak announces smugly. Your species had such potential as servants, Commander Reyes. A pity you chose extinction instead. Reyes activates her communication band with a single tap, a simple signal that sets their countermeasures in motion. Throughout Ceres' craggy surface, concealed defense systems awaken. For months, under the guise of diplomatic facility preparations, engineering teams had systematically restructured the dwarf planet's outer layer. Humanity's first mistake was trusting the Confederation. Reyes responds calmly as warning indicators flash across the chamber. Our second would have been expecting you to honor any agreement. Dr. Patil monitors the defense grid activation from a secure terminal. Ceres defense systems online, detecting 6 Confederation capital ships within optimal engagement range. From hidden silos across the asteroid's surface, specialized projectiles launch toward the Confederation vessels. These aren't conventional weapons, but precision delivery systems for miniaturized Sunforged devices. Upon reaching their targets, they attach to the dreadnought's hulls and activate, creating localized gravitational distortions that compromise structural integrity. The Confederation commanders, expecting traditional energy weapons or missiles, find their defensive shields useless against an attack that manipulates the fundamental forces within their ship structures. The humans deploy gravitational weapons. A McClary tactical officer reports in panic as their flagship's hull begins buckling under impossible stresses. Gorvak roars in fury, his massive frame lunging toward Reyes. You deceitful primitive. Maya Chen moves with cybernetically enhanced reflexes, intercepting the Kronax Viceroy with a specialized disruptor that targets his neural pathways. The massive alien staggers, but doesn't fall. Vorthrak observes the chaos with cold calculation, his cybernetic eye scanning tactical displays embedded in his enhanced vision. After a moment's analysis, he makes a decision that surprises everyone. All Harvester vessels target Confederation flagship, he commands through his internal communication system. The enemy of my enemy may yet become an ally. The battle around Ceres becomes the first open conflict between Earth and the Confederation, with the Harvesters unexpectedly joining the human side. Smaller human vessels emerge from concealed positions in the asteroid belt to engage the flanking Confederation ships, while Harvester cruisers focus overwhelming firepower on Korvac's command vessel. In the diplomatic chamber, security teams from all factions engage in close-quarters combat. Maya's specialized team, equipped with anti-Confederation weapons developed from intelligence gathered during her previous missions, create a secure corridor for the human delegation. Time to leave. She urges Reyes as the facility's integrity becomes compromised. Not without insurance, Reyes responds, retrieving critical data cores containing evidence of Confederation crimes against multiple species, information that could spark widespread rebellion throughout their territory. As the human delegation evacuates to their shuttle, a tremendous explosion rocks the facility. Gorvak, having fought his way through multiple security barriers, reaches his personal escape pod. The diplomatic center collapses behind him as his damaged vessel breaks free, accelerating toward the waiting Confederation reserve fleet. He's getting away, Maya observes grimly as their shuttle clears Ceres. Let him, Reyes responds. He'll deliver our message more effectively than we could. Back on Earth, Commander Reyes addresses a joint session of global leadership, revealing the final phase of her strategy, Operation Homeworld Defense. Holographic displays show a planetary defense system unlike any in known galactic records. For months, thousands of seemingly ordinary civilian satellites and infrastructure projects have secretly constructed components of an integrated defense network. Instead of trying to match Confederation technology symmetrically, Reyes explains, we're transforming Earth itself into a defensive entity. Dr. Patel steps forward to detail the scientific principles. Earth's magnetosphere and Van Allen radiation belts become components in our defensive network. The Sunforged technology, distributed through thousands of small satellites in precise configurations, can manipulate these natural features in ways no external fleet can easily counter. Lieutenant Okoro demonstrates how his adaptive algorithms have evolved beyond drone swarms into a specialized intelligence designed specifically to anticipate and counter Confederation combat tactics. They'd fought thousands of species, but never one that thinks like us. As global preparations accelerate, unexpected allies emerge from throughout the galaxy. Species long suppressed by Confederation rule make clandestine contact with Earth through newly established channels. A voidary scientist arrives with advanced sensor technology that complement human innovations. Your victory at Mars sent ripples through the collective consciousness of subjugated worlds, she explains. Many have waited millennia for the Confederation's grasp to weaken. A McClary diplomat provides access codes to Confederation communication networks. Our crystalline architecture is considered primitive decoration by the Kronax, he explains, allowing us to hide data within what they see as merely aesthetic patterns. Even members of the Kronax military caste, impressed by human courage and tactics, secretly send intelligence about Confederation fleet movements. Honor demands respect for worthy adversaries, explains a defector. The Viceroy has forgotten the ancient ways. Meanwhile, Gorvak reaches the Confederation homeworlds, his humiliating defeat transformed through propaganda into a treacherous ambush that demands unprecedented response. The Confederation Council authorizes the assembly of the largest military force in galactic history. Over 5,000 warships with instructions to make such an example of Earth that no species will dare rebel for the next 1,000 years. What they don't realize is that their communications are compromised, their tactical plans known to Earth defenders before they're even finalized, and their assumptions about human capabilities hopelessly outdated. The stage is set for a confrontation that will reshape galactic civilization forever. Commander Reyes stands on the bridge of the refitted Defiant, Earth's flagship, now positioned in a holding pattern near the Moon. Through the main viewport, Earth gleams blue and white against the darkness of space, deceptively peaceful despite the frantic preparations taking place across its surface and throughout its orbit. Confederation Vanguard has transitioned from faster-than-light travel at the system boundary, reports the sensor officer. 5,327 vessels detected. Formation analysis confirms this is their full committed force. Ray studies the tactical hologram displaying the approaching armada. The Confederation ships move with mathematical precision, their formation optimized through millennia of conquest. A communication request flashes on the command console. "Put him through," she orders. Viceroy Gorvak's massive form fills the main screen, his scales polished for what he believes will be his moment of triumph. The scars from his encounter on Ceres are proudly displayed rather than regenerated. A Kronax tradition marking battles of significance. "Your species has been judged unworthy of continued existence," he announces formally. "Surrender now for merciful extinction, or resist for exemplary punishment." Reyes meets his gaze steadily. "Welcome to Earth," she responds, then terminates the connection. Lieutenant Okoro, stationed at the Tactical Systems console, raises an eyebrow. "That's all you're going to say to him?" "Actions speak louder than words," Reyes replies, "and we're about to make quite a statement." As the Confederation fleet advances into the system, they encounter no immediate resistance. Long-range sensors detect human vessels falling back, apparently in disarray. The lack of opposition only heightens the invaders' suspicion. Aboard the Confederation flagship, Gorvak consults with his senior tacticians. The humans demonstrate unpredictable strategies. "Proceed with maximum caution. All defense systems at highest alert," confirms his second-in-command. "No anomalies detected in the asteroid belt approach vector." When the Vanguard reaches the belt, the first phase of humanity's final defense activates. Thousands of asteroids, quietly repositioned over months through minimal thrust adjustments too subtle for distant observation, suddenly engage more powerful engines. The asteroids don't impact Confederation ships directly. Such obvious tactics would be easily countered. Instead, they create constantly shifting gravitational landscapes using miniaturized Sunforge devices embedded throughout the belt. The precise formation that has served Confederation fleets for centuries becomes a deadly liability, as ships can no longer predict the space-time topography around them. "Impossible," murmurs a McClary navigator aboard Gorvak's flagship. They've turned empty space itself into a weapon. The carefully ordered Confederation formation disintegrates into chaos. Ships collide with each other or veer off course, unable to maintain their planned approach vectors. In this confusion, Earth's vessels attack not with overwhelming firepower, but with surgical precision. They don't attempt to match the Confederation's superior weapons. Instead, they create localized gravitational lenses that focus the Confederation's own weapons fire back upon their ships. From an unexpected vector, the reformed Harvester contingent led by Vorthrak strikes, using tactics adapted from Lieutenant Okoro's algorithms. Their massive ships, once reliant on brute force, now move with unpredictable patterns that confound Confederation targeting systems. The Harvesters betray the natural order. Gorvak rages as reports of mounting losses flood his command center. Across the solar system, the battle unfolds unlike any in galactic history. Near Jupiter, Europa's defenders launch ice projectiles through carefully aimed geysers. Around Mars, the revitalized magnetic field creates sensor-jamming corridors that human ships navigate with practiced ease, while Confederation vessels blunder blindly. Dr. Patel coordinates the defense grid from Luna Control, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces as he makes real-time adjustments to the gravitational distortion fields. The Confederation ships are adapting their navigational algorithms, he notes. They're learning faster than we anticipated. They've had thousands of years to perfect their combat doctrine. Rise responds from the Defiant. We expected them to adapt. Gorvak, watching his Grand Armada falling into increasing disorder, makes a desperate decision. His flagship, the most powerful vessel ever constructed by the Confederation, initiates an emergency faster-than-light jump directly to Earth, a planet-killing strike to end the resistance once and for all. The massive dreadnought materializes in Earth orbit, its weapon systems powering up for planetary bombardment. Gorvak transmits a final message. You fought well, for primitives. Now watch your homeworld burn. But Earth is waiting. The planetary defense network activates fully for the first time. The magnetosphere visibly intensifies, manifesting as spectacular aurora displays across the entire planet. The Van Allen radiation belts shift and realign under the control of thousands of Sunforge satellites. The Confederation flagship, caught in the manipulated electromagnetic field, finds its antimatter containment systems suddenly compromised. Energy readings spike to catastrophic levels. From his monitoring station on Luna, Dr. Patel makes split-second calculations and implements an emergency protocol. Rather than allowing a devastating explosion that would irradiate Earth's surface, the planetary defense network creates a controlled space-time bubble around the failing ship. The massive energy release is contained but creates a temporary artificial gravity well that collapses within seconds. Where Gorvak's mighty flagship once dominated Earth orbit, only scattered debris remains. With their leader destroyed and their fleet in disarray, the Confederation commanders receive a simultaneous transmission broadcast to every ship in their armada. But the face that appears on their screens is not Commander Reyes. Instead, they see representatives of 24 species, including former enemies and subjugated Confederation worlds, standing together in Earth's United Nations Hall. The Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds extends an invitation to all Confederation worlds, announces a Voidary diplomat, her telepathic emphasis carrying even through electronic transmission. Join us as equals, not as rulers or subjects.